Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our Fiqh Hour. Our theme for today is all matters associated with divorce. As is our practice now, has been for at least a week. We spend the first 20-25 minutes or so on the theme. So we can take questions on that theme, and then we jump onto any questions which are outside of that theme, like we've got some that have come through already on the YouTube and others that might come through the other social media platforms. Islam Iman, you know that I got that message. The reason why you know I got that message is because I spoke about hadith yesterday. That was the telltale sign, old boy. But anyway, let's jump to the theme. So let's talk about divorce. Okay, but before we speak about divorce, we need to speak about nikah. Now, nikah, from a Shari'i perspective, can only take place between a male and a female. And when the nikah takes place between the male and the female, then one aspect of nikah is an offer of nikah, and the other aspect is of accepting of that nikah. So it's a bit like a transaction, really. Somebody offers to marry somebody, and the other one accepts their offer in marriage. Now, from the perspective of who tends to offer, well, it's usually the way it is arranged in the masjid, and normally when nikah is done, it's kind of in a way as though both people are offering, and so basically the offer is given to the lady privately to say that, look, such and such wants to marry you. Do you accept that? And she says yes. And then the offer is put to the chap in the masjid, usually, that so and so has accepted to marry you. Do you accept, or do so? It sometimes can be a little bit mixed up in that there's kind of two acceptances, so to speak. But generally speaking, the structure is fine where there's an offer and acceptance. The lady at this particular stage, it's very important for her that she carries out her due diligence. Now, usually, because obviously this is a matter for the men to be having these conversations, she needs a representative to speak on her behalf. And what should be traditionally the best person to speak on her behalf is her father. Unfortunately, we find sometimes that the father ends up being in sort of conversation with the young man's father, and he's not necessarily always looking at the need for his daughter. The father has to understand that he is acting on behalf of his daughter. Okay, he is a wakil that's acting on behalf of his daughter, so he has to make sure that he gets a good deal. Okay. He's not going to make sure that he gets a bad deal, because that would be, ridiculous. Here is his daughter sending him forward because it's a place of negotiation of men, and it would not seem appropriate for a woman to be negotiating her mahar or her nikah on behalf of herself, even though she can in the Hanafi school. However, it is usually her father that will act on her behalf. The reason why this is so important is because once she commits to the nikah, she cannot break that nikah. That's why it's so important. Because once she has committed to that nikah, now she is in wedlock with him. Only your husband is going to be able to break that nikah. So she needs to make sure that she's done all her due diligence, that her father has left no stone unturned, and they've made sure that this is the chap for her. Okay. Once they're married now, alhamdulillah, may Allah, the dua is made that may Allah put barakah in it, may Allah put khair in it, and obviously both parties need to make every effort to make the marriage work. As this particular theme is not about how marriages are and counseling, I'm not going to speak about that at length. I'm just going to make that short reference and leave it at that. The topic today is all things around divorce. We get to a situation now, unfortunately, where the marriage, for whatever reason, is not working. As I said, I'm not going to explore that aspect. I'm going to pack that up. We're going to speak very dry on the legal jurisprudence with regards to divorcing. Now the husband wishes to divorce his wife. If the husband wishes to divorce his wife, he must have grounds for divorce. That does not mean the divorce does not take place if he does not have grounds. The divorce can take place even if he does not have grounds. He will be sinful, absolutely, but the divorce will take place. Similarly, giving divorce to one's wife while she is in her menstrual cycle is forbidden. However, if he does give the divorce to his wife while she is in a menstrual cycle, the divorce takes place, but he is sinful. So we have to understand the application of the hukm, even though it is bil karaha, with dislike, or in some case bit tahrim, yani it is close to haram, but the act takes place. Okay, that's something that we need to understand and appreciate. So usually a man does not give divorce to his wife after a conversation or consultation or sitting down like two grown adults and having and discussing something and deciding that this marriage isn't for them. Usually what happens is there's an argument. And as the argument goes on, one wise man said that if the man could contain his anger and if the woman could contain her remarks, there would be very few marriage breakdowns. But unfortunately, the man cannot control his anger and the woman cannot control the remarks she makes to him. And because that's like fuel and fire, or fuel and oxygen and a spark, the three things required to make a fire, then naturally divorce occurs. So there's two types of divorce. One type of divorce is referred to as at-talaqu raj'i, and the other one is referred to as at-talaqu al-ba'in. Now, what is at-talaqu raj'i? Now, the word raja'a means ruju, means it is revocable. How does a revocable divorce occur? A revocable divorce occurs when a man utters words of divorce, not words which are ambiguous, not words which are indicative, not words which are figurative, not words which are obscure, but he uses explicit words like, I've divorced you. Okay? Explicit. There's no like, I wonder what he meant by that. There's no ambiguity, is there? It's absolutely crystal clear what he's saying to his wife. In those types of statements, the intention is irrelevant. Even if he claims afterwards, I only said that to my wife to frighten her, to taunt her, to put her on her back foot, to warn her that if she escalates this argument, I'm going to do that. As soon as he says, I've divorced you, divorce has occurred. He does not need to have his wife in front of him when he says it. He can make that statement, indicating it towards his wife, even in her absence. He can say it in a room on his own. He can say it in a room with his friends. He can say it wherever. It's a statement. Now, if people say, whoa, that's a bit heavy, isn't it? That's a bit heavy. Just one statement and that marriage is broken up. Just one statement and 20 years of marriage is gone. Just one statement and, 5 children in that marriage. That's it. Well, didn't it take one statement in order for the two to become halal for each other? One complete ajnabi woman, one complete ghair mahram becomes legitimate for these two now to have intercourse and intimacy just by these few words, I kabul hai, if they say in Urdu, or if they say in English, I've accepted. That's it, just that word. And now this woman who was a complete stranger to you yesterday is now going to be the most intimate human in your life for the foreseeable future. So that is what's referred to as at-talaqu raj'i. Now, when he utters these words, divorce takes place immediately. However, because it is a revocable divorce, he can, within the next 3 menstrual cycles that the woman has, take his wife back. Now, note the word I use, take his wife back, because she retains in his nikah. The nikah does not break. All that's happened is he has uttered divorce to her. If she does not want to get back to him, it is irrelevant. Why? Because she is still his wife. And as I said, that's why the woman has to really carry out some due diligence before she says yes. Because once she has said yes, she will remain in his wedlock until he divorces her. So let's just say he decides to take her back during the 3 menstrual cycles. How does he take her back? He can make a statement to her that I'm taking you back as my wife. Or he can engage in an intimacy of a physical nature without going into too much specifics, like a husband and wife do, not just holding hands or cuddling or anything, but the actual act. And therefore, a man only behaves like that with his wife, and that is taking one's wife without necessarily making a statement. So there are 2 ways that can be taken back. He has now another 2 divorces left with this woman. He has now 2 divorces left with this woman. So if 6 months down the road he utters another divorce, if 6 months down the line he utters another, even if he's given 3 sarih, he cannot take this woman back at all. It's done. If it so happens that she marries another man and she stays with this other man for 3 years, and unfortunately that other man dies, and this man never got married, and now because that other man's died, she's become a widow or widower, and then obviously, no, it's widow, isn't it? Yeah, widow. And then obviously once her iddah is over, the husband, the ex-husband, writes to her and says, you know, I hear that your husband died, unfortunately, you know, shall we give it another go? Now he can remarry her. Why? Because she married another man, had intimacy with this other man, lived with this other man, and now she's returning back. This cannot be organized. This cannot be done as a favor so that this wife can go back to her husband. This has to happen without any planning, without any structure, in a way that I just described it. That is at-talaku raj'i. What is at-talaku ba'in? Now, at-talaku ba'in is if a person uses figurative language, indicative language, obscure language, ambiguous language. For instance, he's having an argument with his missus, full blown, and he says to her, all right, get out of my face. All right, get out of my face. Now, get out of my face means several things. Literally, get out of my face, stand over there because I'm looking this way. And if you stand over there, you're out of my face. Or get out of my face, leave the room. Or get out of my face, get outside the house. Or get out of my face, why don't you go somewhere? Or get out of my face, you're divorced. Now, this will be based on his niyyah. So he will be asked, when you said to your wife, get out your face, what did you mean by it? Usually when a person asks that person, unfortunately, we have a habit of lying. So we start changing the tale. However, the ulama will also look at the circumstantial evidence. So if the circumstantial evidence is like this, he's having an argument with his wife, voices are raised, or you act, and his wife retorts to him, or you act like a big man, big tough guy. You don't even have the bottle. Obviously, she may use more colorful language. You don't even have the bottle to divorce me. You threaten me with it, but you don't do it. Man up. If you want to be a real man, divorce me then. And he says, don't tempt me. I'll do it. You know that, don't you? And she says, yeah. You're all talk. And he says, right, get out my face. That, right, get out my face, will be considered as talaku ba'in, even though he may say, oh, I didn't have the intention. It does not matter. The circumstantial evidence is quite clear. She's taunting him to give him divorce. He's following it. He's getting onto the hook. And now he's responded in that way. So that will be talaki ba'in. With talaki ba'in, it is an irrevocable divorce and the nikah breaks. The nikah breaks. Even though it's only one talaq, the nikah breaks. Once the nikah breaks, he is the only one that can remarry her during her 3 menstrual cycles. No other man can marry her during the 3 menstrual cycles. But it's back to square one. He will say, do you want to marry me? She can now refuse him. She can say, no, I'm not interested in you. I've lesson learned. I don't want to marry you. She cannot marry anybody else yet because she's still in her iddah. Once her iddah is over, she can now marry whoever she chooses. Okay. He cannot compel to take her back because she's no longer his wife. As soon as a talaki ba'in takes place, the nikah is broken. Whereas with a talaki raj'i, she remains his wife. One is a revocable divorce, one is an irrevocable divorce. You need to understand the difference between the two. So that, I think, summarizes, generally speaking, with regards to divorces. A woman may initiate a divorce by suggesting to the husband that I do not want to stay with you. Okay? I don't know, whatever the reason is. She must have grounds for this, though. You don't cover my maintenance. You're aggressive. You beat on me regularly. You don't take responsibility for the children. I have to provide. I have to go work for the children. Whatever her grounds are, she can say to him, look, this marriage is not working. Let me go. Okay, so usually the man initiates it, but the woman can initiate it as well. She says, let me go. If he's doing wrong, then the Sharia encourages him to let her go. So look, you're not fulfilling her needs. You're not looking after her as a wife. You just keep hanging her on with you. Let her go. Why are you committing sin in this way? If she doesn't work for you, marry another woman. There's more women out there. Allow her to move on with her life as well. If, however, there is no real grounds for divorce, but she just doesn't like him. Yeah, she just doesn't like him. I see, I'm not attracted to you in the slightest. I do not like you at all. I don't like your character. I don't like your personality. I just don't like you. So she can then say, well, you gave me mahar. Right? When we got married, remember? And he'll say, yeah, you gave me £5,000, for example, as mahar. Yes, I did. Okay. How about I give you that £5,000 back and you divorce me? So now he's thinking, that's not bad. She doesn't like me. She doesn't like my personality. In fact, she despises me. She hates me. Okay, which is not a really nice relationship to be in. But I'm not losing out because the £5,000 that I gave her, she's giving back to me. So I can just use that £5,000 as a mahar and get married again. Okay, fair dues. Shake on it, shake on it. And he gives her a divorce. This is called a khul'a, in which she asks to remove the nikah from around her neck. Because that's what the nikah has become now, like a rope around her neck. And she doesn't feel comfortable with it. In many occasions, unfortunately, men don't divorce their wives, even though they are oppressing them and they're doing wrong to them. They're abusing them. And the woman can plead with him and beg him and say, look, let me go, let me go. And he's saying, nope, I'm going to make your life hell. I'm going to make life difficult for you. I'm going to go get married again because I can marry another 3 women. I'm going to go get married again. I'm going to do another nikah. But as for you, I'm going to make you suffer. Now, the Sharia does not allow that to happen. So she can, and we have numerous Sharia councils up and down the country, she can now write to a Sharia council and say to the Sharia council that, look, I've been married to my husband for X number of years, and she puts her case forward. The Sharia council, assuming it's being run properly, will write to a husband to say, look, this case has come to us. It's run by ulama, or we should only be going to those Sharia councils that are run by ulama. That this lady has come to us who claims she's your wife, and she's telling us this claim, that claim, that claim, that claim, that claim. How do you plead? Now, he has an opportunity to answer those claims back and say, oh, that's a load of, gobbledygook. That's a load of codswallop. That's a load of nonsense. Yeah, that's not happened. That's never taken place. Okay, can you substantiate that? And then their job is to substantiate it because she's making claims. She has to provide evidence for it, especially if he's defending himself. But if the husband doesn't respond and says, okay, I'm not responding to you, who you lot to tell me what I can and can't do, then they'll write to him a second time. And again, put those claims to him. Again, if they don't, then they'll write to him a third time. Again, putting those claims to him. If he doesn't get back in the third time, then they do what's called fasakh nikah. Fasakh nikah means they annul the nikah. They annul it. Because the nikah is based on conditions. Even though the Imam Sahib doesn't mention the conditions are that the husband will provide for his wife, he will provide a maintenance for her, he will provide a place to live in, he will provide clothing, he will provide food, he will be intimate with her, he will show affection to the best of his ability. All these conditions are placed on the man. Of course, there are conditions placed on the woman as well. I'm only speaking from the perspective of the man. Now, if he does not meet those conditions, then the whole contract is problematic. If those conditions, which are tied into a nikah contract, are not being met, then the whole contract itself is problematic. If it's problematic, then it's just academic that the ulama annul it. Because he's not meeting the contract. In the nikah, it's quite clear that you have to do this, 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 this. And she will do this, 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 this. Now, usually, or generally speaking, the man won't go to a Sharia council because if his wife is not meeting his conditions, he'll just divorce her. problem solved. Okay. You know, you don't listen to me, you do as you please, you know, whatever his ishkalat, whatever his complaints are, he'll make those complaints, and then he can just decide, okay, I'm divorcing you. That's it. But with the woman, you see, she is stuck. If she's got problems from her husband, and that her husband is not meeting the conditions, what could she do? Now, remember, we used to live the laws, and she could go to a judge, a Qāḍī, and then the Qāḍī would bring her husband, send the police over, collect him in, put him in front of the court, and then say to him, okay, off you go. You know, your wife's making these complaints against you. How do you plead? But remember, the nikah is not legislated within the UK. It is not supported by the UK. Hence the reason why the British government, and I'm sure other governments as well, have been pushing to say that the nikah can only take place is when a marriage takes place in the civil registrar office as well. Otherwise, the nikah can't take place. Why? Because the women's rights are not being met when a man marries her via nikah, but does not marry her via the civil courts, because she can't take her case to a judge in the British courts if obviously the marriage is not recognized. But now, obviously, we've moved on beyond marriage, and now there's civil partnerships, and now there's living together, cohabitating. So even though the laws were quite, you know, specific to married couples, because now in the modern world, we live together in a different way now, compared to how we used to do it before. Therefore, even now, a nikah can have some kind of recognition and value in the British courts. So that, in a big nutshell, is the whole concept of divorce, the types, the manner, the iddah, and everything else associated with it. So if there's specific questions with regards to that, then please, I'll give you a few minutes to post those questions. I'll answer those questions. If after a couple of minutes people haven't posted those questions, then I'll pick up the questions that have come in, which are to do with subjects and matters outside of today's theme. Plus, it's an excuse because it gives me a couple of minutes to sip on some coffee. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, Nazmul's joined us. Alhamdulillah. One of our team members who works hard behind the scenes. Allah bless him. Excellent. And I'm trying to encourage more and more sisters to kind of get involved. Okay. So that, you know, we get a good balance, you see, because all the topics have been, you know, suggested by men. And alhamdulillah, we've got very good brothers, mashallah, who come onto our lives. But, it's always going to be slightly skewed, isn't it? Even though 50% of the population is women. On top of that, many women don't get access to ulama. So I'm hoping that more sisters, join on. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Wa alaikum salam. Married men / women nowadays are on social media talking to the opposite sex, making friends, sending pics to each other. My understanding is it's the same as cheating on your spouse. But when I said this to someone, they didn't seem to agree with it. Could you please give some guidance on this so I can send the video to them? Excellent. That's exactly one of the reasons why we have this video, so we can unearth these social issues. Think of social media exactly like the real world. We have somehow made it in our heads that what goes on social media is not a real world. When I take a picture of myself and share it with someone, I've not really given my picture. There's no real person on the other end. Absolutely, you have. Can we share our pictures with ghair mahram? No, we can't. Absolutely, we can't. Can we talk casually in a friendly way with a ghair mahram? No, we can't. Can we socialize in this way with ghair mahram? No, we can't. The only thing, as I've said, is if you go back to a couple of sessions ago, and now obviously mashallah, Nazmul and the team are labeling the titles, and you'll see the theme of the title. So that kind of answers Iman's question as well, where he was suggesting, Mufti, wouldn't it be an idea if the ones which are themed, we took just the themed part out, so people could watch that, because the themed ones have been very interesting. So Iman, in that case, what we have is the team, what they do is they put the title on the themed ones with the theme title, and they are right at the beginning. As you see, what I do is I always do the theme first, and then I go to the ancillary questions after. So if they watch the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, half an hour, they will get the theme. And then obviously they can carry on watching the remaining 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so if they choose. If not, they can just jump off after the theme, but at least it's been labeled based on the theme. One shouldn't think that by communicating with someone on social media that it is any different than communicating with someone in the real world. That's something we need to understand. Okay, that's something we need to understand. It is no different. And but the worst thing is that the person you think you are communicating with may not be the person you think you're communicating with. Just because they have an attractive woman up on their social media and you think, oh, doesn't she look nice? I will communicate with her. This could be a man. This could be hackers. This could be anybody. This could be some, they always say a Russian, don't they? This could be somebody in China who sat there, a Chinese bloke who's just going to kangal your money or something. And she's going to suddenly say, oh, my mother's fallen really ill and it's keeping me awake at night. I really need $500 and I can take her to the hospital. And obviously this brother's now slightly more attached to this person and thinks, oh, I can help him out. It's only $500. And he sends it over and he's just been scammed. Or the other way around, this woman sees a picture of a handsome man. And the handsome man is, continuously saying nice things to her. And her husband never says nice things to her. And this person online is saying, oh, you're so beautiful. You're so attractive. Your husband is so lucky that he's with you. And really, it's another woman, or it's a normal bloke sat in his bedroom, a 17-year-old sat in his bedroom. And then, he starts saying that, oh, I'm struggling a little bit, can't pay my rent. They're going to kick me out of the house. And if they do, I won't be able to contact you again for a few months. I know it's really sad and we've got really close, but it is what it is. So she says, oh, hold on. How much is your rent? Because she's now addicted to this person. How much is your rent? Oh, it's $400. But no, I don't want you to give it. Why should you give it? No, it's no big thing. And she sends him $400. So make real friends. And make real friends of those who you are permitted to make friends with. So I hope that answers the sister's question. If not, please do ask away. Again, I'll give another minute for questions to do with marriage in particular, or around marriage, and then I'll jump onto those other ones. Okay, so I think that has got that. Let's just now take some of these questions. So, Assalamu alaikum. Thanks, salam. I pay into a defined contribution pension scheme. So a defined contribution pension scheme is where the employee and the employer make contributions into an investment portfolio, which is at the discretion and choice of the employee. My fund is called the Aviva Pension HSBC Islamic Global Equity Index. Fantastic choice, because at least you're ensuring that your investments are going to be halal. I don't know who sits on the board of the HSBC Islamic Global Equity Index, but at least you have made a conscious decision to try to make sure that your transactions are halal. Do I pay zakat on the full pension value or just part of it? 99.5% of the funds is in equities, with 0.5% in real estate investment trusts. So the 0.5%, yes, you will pay all of it on the 0.5%, but the 99.5%, which is predominantly what your pension fund is made of, is because they are equities, you have to determine the value of what is zakatable within those businesses. What I mean by zakatable is not everything within a business is zakatable. So, for example, buildings within the business are not zakatable. Desks, offices, photocopiers, things like that are not zakatable. What is zakatable? Liquid assets in the bank account are zakatable. Product on the shelves is zakatable. Products in the warehouse is zakatable. Products in transition or going from raw material to finished product are zakatable. Now, I don't know how many different businesses you have shares in with these equities. You would need to look at the well, let me just send this. You would need to look at the end of year accounts. And when you look at the end of year accounts, you'll be able to determine how much of the business assets. Okay, because not every asset of a business is zakatable. Once you determine, so in one business, it might be 30% of the other business, it might be 50% of the business is zakatable, but are not liquid rich. So they're usually around 20-25% is a figure. Now, there was some research that NZF did many moons ago, probably about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And in that, I think there was a figure, and I can't remember the figure exactly, but I think it was 27%. So you would take 27% of the 99.5% and 100% of the 0.5%. But please do, if you get chance, go to nzf.org.uk because I act as the Chief Sharia Officer for NZF, and therefore I've checked that and authorized it and approved it. So it should be there, but otherwise I think it was 27% from memory, but memory can sometimes fool you. Walaikum salam. Yes, it did. My account is a business account. I use a business WhatsApp business. Walaikum salam, Haris. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Is taking Ventolin spray allowed during fasting? Walaikum salam. The answer to that is no, it is not allowed. But I did say, I think it was maybe you, sister, that mentioned that we could do with a session on Ramadan, and therefore I have scheduled it in my little diary. Well, it's not little, actually, it's quite a big diary. In my diary for next week, because next week is the last full week of Sha'ban before we get Ramadan. So I have a feeling that the Saudis may declare the start of Ramadan on Sunday evening. So there may be Taraweeh for some of you on Sunday evening. And so therefore, I'm planning to do this sometimes, maybe Saturday, I think, inshallah, next week, I will do the Ramadan one. Okay, so be ready for that. And then I've just got to look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. I will also on Saturday explain to you the new timings for Ramadan, for FiqHour. And also, I'm finalizing my Ramadan schedule. So if you're in Bradford, I will be able to see you in the first 20 days. And if you're in London, I'll be able to see you in the last 10 days. So I will give you the schedule of where I will be and what I will be doing as well. So I'll share that with you on Saturday as well, inshallah. So watch this space. Can a man take gold back from his ex-wife in case of divorce in consensus? Divorce in consensus. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Can a man take gold back from his ex-wife in case of divorce in consensus? What's divorce in consensus? As in consensus of the ulama, or what? What does divorce in consensus means? Whilst you're going to type that in, because I know there's always a lag on my didgeridoo on my devices. It depends who that gold divorce both want to divorce. I see. Okay, that's fine. So they may both want to divorce, but it's always the husband that issues a divorce. It depends who the gold belongs to. So that's what needs to be clarified from the word go. Okay, that's a shame. Is it any better now? Yeah, it does that for some reason. It just gets clobbered. Half and half from both sides. Okay. Now it depends. So if half the gold belongs to the man and he only gave it to his wife to use, then he can take that back, of course. But if he gave the gold, that's as hadiyah, as a gift or as mahar, then he can't take it back. You have to determine who is the owner of the gold. Okay. You have to determine who is the owner of the gold. So if the gold was given as a gift to the wife, if the gold was given as mahr to the wife, then the wife is the owner. If, on the other hand, the gold was given for usage only, that this is my gold and I'm giving this to you for you to use, then she doesn't become the owner. It's like me saying, this is my pen. Okay, and my wife walks in and says, there you go, you can use my pen. Notice what I said, you can use my pen. So after a few days, I say to my wife, where's my pen? She can't say, oh, I thought you gave it to me. I said, no, I didn't. I quite clearly said, you can use my pen. So it's my pen. Otherwise, I'd said, here, take this pen. It's now yours. And if you're unsure, this is what we do, is we don't clarify things between husbands and wives. So what this happens, you see, is, for example, if your husband buys the house with his money, then the house belongs to the husband. Okay. If the husband buys a house with his money, it is his money. A wife cannot say on divorce that give half of that to me. Why? It's his house. She can't say, oh yeah, but I supported him and I saved money and I'm his wife at the end of the day. I was married for 20 years. Well, yeah, he provided free house for you. You didn't pay rent. He provided food for you. You didn't pay for the food. He provided clothes for you. You didn't pay for the clothes. He provided maintenance for you. So all he did, he did. If you wanted a house, then you would have said to him that, oh, I want a house as well. And then he would have had a choice to say, actually, no, I ain't going to give you a house. Now it was up to you. If she said, you know, that, okay, that's because at the end of the day, it's his house. And what happens, obviously, in UK law is she demands through the courts for half of the property, but that property belongs to him. It's not permissible for her to take his property. It belongs to him. So there has to be that clarity. So when a woman is living with her husband, she should say that, oh, you know, is half the house mine? And if he says, no, it's not, then at least she knows that it's not mine. Similarly, if the gold is given to her and she should say to her that someone gives you something, you should always check, you know, someone gives me anything. I don't say, oh, that, you know, that's mine or something. So you'll say, oh, okay, you know, you gave me £10,000 worth of gold. Is this mine now? And if he says yes, then that's it. It's done. It's your gold. But if he says, no, I'm only giving it to you because you're my wife and I want you to wear it. Ah, so you want me to return it? Then obviously, as soon as you stop to being his wife, then you have to return it. Okay. Mahr was given separately. It was like a gift at the time of the marriage because jewelry cannot belong to a man. Ah, so who gave the gift? Was the gift given by a third party, like an auntie or somebody, a third party? Or was the gift given by the husband to his wife? Jewelry can belong to a man. A man can't wear it. A man can own gold. He just cannot wear it. Okay, so I can own gold bars. I can have gold necklaces. I can have gold rings because I might trade in gold. I might run a goldsmith and I sell gold rings. Husband's parents. Okay, so if the husband's parents gave it to, because sometimes you see what they do is they have an heirloom, you know, an heirloom where something is handed from the mother-in-law to the daughter-in-law, and then that daughter-in-law hands it to her daughter-in-law, and then that daughter-in-law hands it, and it just carries on from generation to generation, and it actually belongs to the family. It doesn't belong to the daughter-in-law because as soon as the daughter-in-law leaves the family, it stays with the husband because when the husband remarries, he gives that to his wife, new wife. So that's where we need to get clarity that when the parents gave the gold, upon whom were they giving hadiyah to? Was it hadiyah to the husband and he then gave it to his wife to wear? Or was the hadiyah to the wife, you know, or was the hadiyah half to the husband, half to the wife? That needs to be clarified. We need to determine the owner of the gold. What if the wife's name is also on the house? That doesn't necessarily mean anything, even if a husband puts his wife's name on the house. The clarity that needs to be sought is when that is happening, the wife should be saying to her husband, what's going on? You're asking me, because he might be doing it for tax purposes. You know, sometimes a man may put his wife's name on one house and then buy another house and put it on his name. And the reason why he's doing that is because if you own two properties, then there's different tax problems for you. But if you own one property, there's different taxes for you to consider. So it may be that he knows that what I'm going to do is I'm going to have two houses, but I'm going to put one on your name and I'm going to put one on my name. Now, he's only doing that just to put it on her name. He's not saying that I'm now transferring ownership of this house to you. You now own this house. Okay. He's not saying that. What he's saying is I'm only putting this on your name because of the fact that I want to avoid tax or this or that, the other, whatever he's trying to do. Okay. I think I missed a question somewhere. There you go. From what age should children, specifically boys, fast? When does it become obligatory? Boys should really start fasting or practicing fasting like girls from, say, the age of around 7. They should even start fasting earlier, but they can do like short days, a 2-hour fast or a 3-hour fast, just to get into the habit and the psychology of fasting. Nowadays, obviously, fasts are relatively short. Okay, so for example, I know the first fast is going to break like at 6:11 here in Bradford. Long, so it might be that, you know, what they do is, instead of as a 7-year-old, you might let them get up, have breakfast, and then let them have lunch, and then they just fast after lunch, so it doesn't affect their school. So they fast from 12 o'clock till 6 o'clock, and then start getting into the. After, you let them do an extra hour. Then the year after, you do them an extra hour until when they reach to bulugh. They are a year or 2 years before bulugh. They're doing the full whack fast. So there should be no difference between boys and girls. It should be similar setup. I have more ideas for themes for FiqHour, sports that are allowed in Islam as a profession. Excellent. What I would like, sister, is if you could kind of elaborate on that, adding a few kind of questions so that it gives me some thought to build around that, because I have then built a framework inside of my head about what sort of questions are required and how to answer them. If it's like a one sentencer, you know, you think about it, I've got to try to give you a 20-25 minute lecture just on one sentence. So, you know, it just helps me to develop a framework for that. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll up just in case I missed any more questions. In the meantime, please feel free to add some questions. I hope the Facebook sound has returned. Okay, I'll scribble that down as a potential theme. Surely darts is not a sport, is it? Well, I'll write it down. I didn't think darts was a sport. Olympic Games. A session about hoofs would also be helpful. Again, just add a few sentences, please, sister, just to gives me some framework. Alhamdulillah. So while sister's typing up a couple of kind of questions around that particular topic, let me make the first call for any more questions, please. But they are not the material What does that mean? But they are not the material used. What does that mean? Some don't even fit in the shoes. So whilst we've got that going there, then let us, as we do, introduce, inshallah, the topic for discussion in the next fiqh hour. So what we'll do is we will take that topic, in fact, which is what sports does Islam permit to engage in as a profession? And what we mean by profession is where it's a source of income, meaning it's your day job, okay? And we're talking about sports like football, cricket, darts, not, as I said, I don't know if it's a sport, but we'll include it, swimming, Olympic Games, and using these as a source of income, making as your day job and producing an income from it. So that will be our topic for the next session, inshallah. Okay. Excellent. So last 30 seconds, chaps and chapesses. If not, then we will close today's session. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. For the remainder of this week now. And and that will be up until Sunday night, inshallah. And even Monday night, because most likely our declaration, I'm suspecting, will be Monday evening. So that our Taraweeh will be on Monday night. So for Sunday, once we know, because obviously Sunday night, we will spend quite a significant amount of time on Sunday. So maybe Sunday we're just going to leave open because Sunday is going to be maybe announcing the start of Ramadan or not announcing the start. So Sunday is going to be either announcing the start of Ramadan or not. And also we will then discuss in the schedule as well, Ramadan schedule. I will discuss that, sister, on Sunday, inshallah. Not this Sunday, next Sunday. I will give you the full detail because the fiqh hour is going to vary throughout Ramadan. So the key thing I would say is please make sure you've subscribed to this channel, because if you subscribe to this channel, you'll get a notification. But I will tell you beforehand approximately the schedule, and then make a note of it, and then inshallah feel free to get involved in it on that way. So far we've got Saturday, Sunday. Obviously tomorrow we will cover sports as a theme, and Tuesday we can cover hoofs, and leaves Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. And I do have some themes as well that have been shared with me by the team, so we got plenty. But it may be that when Ramadan kicks in, it's pretty busy, possibly. If not, I'll have some themes ready anyway, inshallah. So on that note, jazakumullah khairan, till tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.